Hey, friend. Today I want to talk to you about building your life in the right order. Often we'll ask, what does something really cost? What's that cost? And when we use that expression, we're referring to how much money does it cost. But things cost a lot more than money. They might cost time, they might cost energy, they might cost a whole lot of our attention. Whatever we're going to acquire requires a portion of our life. So I want to talk about how we can build our life in the right order because you can always replace money, but you can't replace yesterday. You can't replace time. You can't replace energy. You can't replace attention. You can't replace feelings of exhaustion. You can't replace health. Those are all kind of hard to do. So we can recover financially, but we can't recover in some of those other areas. Money seems really important, and it is, but money seems particularly important because it's something we can count, where other things we can't count as easily. When the most valuable things in life are things like, are you becoming who God created you to be? I mean, that sounds esoteric. No, it's really important. Are you becoming who you believe God's created you to be? Are you spending your time, your energy, your money on things that matter? Does your calendar reflect your values? These are questions about how we're really allocating the things that are important. Is your work producing life or is it draining you? Those are questions I want you to be thinking about as we go through. Today, I have a fair amount to share with you, so I'm going to be using some notes and stuff because it's too much for me to just hold in my head. So bear with me because I do have some significant things to share. Money is important, but it is an important fruit. It's not the root. It's not the root of what you're doing. It's not the inner part. It's not the motivation. It is the fruit. It's something that is produced along the way. So, lest I seem like I don't care about money, I do care about money. I do think money is important. And I even believe that God gives us the ability to create wealth. It says that in Deuteronomy 8:18, that's part of how God even blesses his children as an expression of his covenant, of his commitment to us, is he gives us the ability to create wealth, to create money in our lives. And so I do think money's important. I even want to describe some of the values of money. Money's really valuable because it provides for us. It can provide shelter. It can provide food. It provides furniture. Money is something that we can use that provides for us. It can also give us stability. When you have enough money, you can handle things that are coming your way. Could be bills, could be when something breaks. So there's a kind of stability that money can help us to acquire that makes us less financially vulnerable. Money gives us freedom of choice. When you have money, you can determine, am I going to buy this or am I going to buy this? Do I want to use my money to do this thing, or might it give me opportunity to do other things? So it opens choice. Money also helps us to leverage resources. Could be that I need more time. I could maybe get somebody to do that, whether it's cutting the lawn or whether it is outlining something for work or whatever. Money can help us to leverage resources too. It can help us to develop more, whether that's through schooling or training. Money can be a resource that will help us to develop more fully. Money, if we have enough, can open up generosity. Isn't it an awesome thing when you can give, not just give to somebody or not just give to a church, but give in a way that's like, whoa. Recently, I had opportunity. Well, God really burdened my wife and I about somebody we wanted to bless them, and we gave them a gift. And actually, today I just got an email from them. They said when they saw it, they were shocked at our generosity and care for them. They said they both cried and laughed. That's from money. That's not because we're particularly awesome. It's because we were greed and went for it with generosity. Money is a significant thing. It can expand your impact. So you're doing things, but when you add the resource of money to it, you can often do it in a larger kind of a way. Money is something that you can even have as a legacy that you can provide for generations still to come. So money gives us resources, but only purpose can tell us what to do with those resources. Remember, money is a fruit, it's not the root. So everything that is worthwhile in life requires investment. If you've heard me very much, you've probably heard me say this. It requires an investment of time, energy, and money. Sometimes we're trained as believers to just kind of do things spiritually, going to church, worshiping, listening to a message, and we kind of pray for magic that God will do things. And I love prayer, and I think prayer is powerful. I've seen some pretty exciting answers to prayer in families that I've been praying for and interacting and actually coaching people in. We're seeing God do things to transform families. I believe in prayer. But to build anything in this world, to build a house, to build a marriage, to build a hospital, to build a car, to build a business, requires an investment of time, energy, and money, not just praying for it. We need to invest what God's given us to do. But most people tend to put these things in the wrong order: time, energy, and money. And they're most concerned about money. I get it. Um, then when they kind of handle money, they realize, oh my goodness, um, um, I'm running out of time. I've been working too hard. I need to get some vacation. They're worn out. So they were going for money and they ran out of time in the process. And they're like, every week starts to be like this continual drain. They're showing up, but they can feel it just slipping. Their time's slipping away, and only later do they realize, oh my goodness, this is actually not just my time. My energy has been slipping away too. My internal capacity now is drained. I'm out of it. So, what have you been building? Have you been building in the right order, or have you been building in a way that kind of wears you out? Um, the common order is money, margin, and meaning. But I want to tell you, I want to flip that upside down today. I'm in a coaching program, and my coach that he actually does a podcast, and he says, I'm here to help you increase your money, your margin, and your meaning. And he's really good at all of that. His name is Graham Cochran. He's been really helpful to me. But today I want to flip the order of those words, and I want you to think about your life, because once you make enough money, we get under this delusion that once we make enough money, we're going to be free. Nope. When you've been making enough money, what it is often you get more difficulties. You're working harder. You have more people coming to you. So money doesn't necessarily create the space that you need. It might actually diminish the space. And finally, you can come to that place where you're saying, why am I doing this? I can't tell you how many people I've coached it can be, we talk about men in midlife crisis, but I've coached a number of women, successful women, who come into their late 40s, particularly. I find it seems like that they've been really successful, but they come to that place and they start to say, like, I don't know if I really like what I'm doing anymore. And they come to a crisis because they've never taken the time to see what they like to do, what they want, how they're designed. Instead, what they've done is just succeeded at the next level, succeeded at school, succeeded in the interview, succeeding in this job, succeeding in this promotion, but never taking stock to see how they align in their lives. So money, when we set that as the goal, can then now diminish a sense of like time and margin, and it can diminish our energy. So, what I want to encourage is that energy is actually the most valuable of those kind of resources. When you feel energized, look at what you bring into the room. You bring joy, you bring interactiveness. When you are depleted, look at what you bring into the room. Not much. So energy is a big thing. Our work, our impact on others is going to require energy, healthful energy. Um, Energy is the fuel. So when our lives are aligned, when we have this sense of what I'm doing fits what God's created me to be, and it fits who I am, what I like to do, what my abilities and gifting lines up with, when we do that, we're filled with energy. This energy comes out of alignment. Alignment is a kind of root. Alignment in your life is what I believe is one of God's key roots for you. Who you are in Him, who you are and how you understand yourself, and functioning that way in the world. That brings energy to you. That affects the quality of your thinking. It affects your emotional presence, being with other people. It affects your creativity when you're energized. Boom, you can do it. You can start drawing things on paper and it starts to make sense. It affects how you make decisions. It affects your patience with people. Isn't it weird? In some ways, you'd think when I'm kind of tired, maybe I'd be more patient with other people. It's usually the opposite, isn't it? It's when those are when people tick you off or things in traffic tick you off. When you don't have energy, everything irritates you. When you have energy, you have more patience. You're more patient with people. It produces courage to act and move ahead, and it can give you the strength to persevere. So, see, energy is a big deal. Well, for us to maintain energy, for us to guard it and build it, alignment's going to be kind of king. So, purpose and working hard isn't enough. It is alignment. It's God's presence with us in our aligned life that makes huge amounts of difference. So, time is where alignment becomes action. So what we have is that alignment is happening in our lives. We're starting to recognize in the workplace, these kind of jobs in this company align with me better than maybe what I'm doing, and I need to kind of navigate and negotiate to get into that space or do another job. But that alignment, now when we're in that alignment, time starts to be how we exercise our alignment. Time is the container in a sense. So there's alignment. Time is the container that we have to use. Isn't it wild that we all have the same amount of time in a day? You can hear people say, I don't have the time to do that. Well, actually, they have the same amount of time to do it that you do, but they might not be prioritizing it. So our language makes it seem like time is this container that we use and everybody has different amounts of it. And I just don't have a lot of time. No, we all have the same time, but we have different priorities. We have different things draining us. So I'm not allocating my time in a way to do that thing because time is the container. Time gives us the ability to do work. You got to kind of put all these things into allocate your time of work or care or serving, building relationships, developing your own self and your gifts, making decisions. Time brings all that stuff to bear. So we want time is significant. Energy, root. Purpose and alignment, root. Time is that kind of envelope and how we're going to exercise it. Money is the fruit of both what we're going to receive and what we're going to invest, but it's not the root of it. It needs to be aligned with who we are. It needs to fit in relation to our time envelope, in a sense. Success can give you more of what you've pursued, but you got to watch out because it can quietly be taking away things that you've valued. So we want to make sure that we don't sacrifice what we value in order to acquire money. Now, again, I described all those things that money are valuable for, and I'll come back to that even more. But The root is down in the value, down in the alignment, down in your identity. So the healthier order is really about meaning and energy and time, and that out of that will come money. So meaning and alignment are the root. Let me ask you some questions, think about that. Questions related to that kind of like meaning and alignment. Not brand new questions, but questions that we often don't take enough time to answer. You'll hear me asking you these week after week. Things like, who am I? How has God designed me? Different than my other family members, different than my spouse, different than other people at work. How has God uniquely designed me? What has He entrusted to me? What does He expect me to, in a sense, govern or to manage? Or Christians will use the word steward. We're managing the resources of God. What has He entrusted to me? What matters to me in this season? Whether that's this season, the last part of summer, or this season, 2026, or this season, this stage of my life, or this season of work, or this season of school. What matters to me most in this season? Now we're getting down to root things, and we consider our alignment, and then out of that, we'll consider our investment and how it relates. What am I called to build or to continue doing? What does faithfulness look like now? Those are kind of core things for us to consider. Clarity about who you are and what matters to you is going to be the direction for everything. Money isn't that direction. Oh, it is for a number of people. They consider the number and then they direct their life after it. What I'm saying is consider your life, and then the number will follow. When we are walking in that way, clarity about who we are directs everything, and leads to that kind of energy that I described. um, Marriage requires all three. Business requires all three: time, energy, and money. But most people kind of get those things a little bit out of order, if you understand what I'm saying to you. We don't merely spend time. That's not the goal that I have for you as you consider it. We invest time. We're going to be investing money. We're investing time. We're investing our energy. So we consider, do I have enough dispensable time? Do I have enough time that I can allocate to do that thing? What deserves the time that I have? So again, you have a 24-hour day, you got sleep in there, you got rest, you got whatever, eating, all those things. And you're looking, how do I want to invest that time or focus the investment of time? As part of that, because energy is one of those core or roots, I want you to consider in your investment of time, you also need to invest time in that category we'll call margin or renewal, rest that helps you to recuperate in your soul, your psyche, your brain, your health. That's a really important part of the time piece. Isn't just how you invest time to go out. It's how you invest time that actually strengthens you. So time without direction produces busyness, but time that is invested well produces fruitfulness. So time without direction creates exhaustion. Time with investment, I mean, time in the right kind of direction, renews your energy and actually multiplies your energy. So money becomes the fruit uh, and the fuel when we are aligned. When you're not aligned, money is a fruit that we kind of use, but when we use it in an aligned way, it becomes a multiplier. So if we use it to invest in like others, that impact of our life, isn't it? It's a wild thing to me that when we invest ourselves or our resources in other people, it actually has impact and multiplies. It keeps going on. That's wild. But if we're just using it without in a haphazard sense, it's gone when it's gone. So there's kind of two competing cycles that I want to hold before you today. One I'll call the money first cycle, and that is we're going to pursue money. And when we do, we're going to sacrifice time. It's going to drain our energy. We're going to start to lose meaning. And then we're going to escape. We're going to seek escape and recovery. This is what is most commonly out there. This isn't what we want to be living as, but it is often what we will see happening. This is the temptation for all of us to fall into that money first cycle. Let me say it again. You're sacrificing time to get what you need to do. That starts to drain your energy. Now you're losing meaning, and now you're in trouble. The other is an alignment first cycle. So there's a money first cycle, it will rob you. There's an alignment first cycle. And in that one, what we're doing is we're clarifying our meaning and our purpose. And from that, that generates new energy. When you're aligned, I promise you, it gives you energy. And now you're investing your time intentionally. That creates more meaning and value in you and around for others. It produces money. When you are aligned in your life and you're working in the workplace in a way that's aligned, I assure you it will involve promotions and raises because you will be more effective. I've done studies on this. Satisfied workers, workers who are in what they would sense of an alignment, I'll even call it the zone, when they're working in that, they usually are making at least 20% more in salary. Over time, that becomes significant. It produces, so alignment produces even greater money and impact. And that, out of that process, we get to reinvest our time, energy. So one cycle, the put money first cycle, gonna drain you. The other one, put alignment first, is gonna multiply you. The danger isn't money. The danger isn't that money's bad or that money's the enemy. I'm not trying to say that at all. The deeper danger is allowing a secondary resource to become a primary guide. I think I said something. It's a deeper danger when a secondary resource becomes a primary guide in our life. When we do that, we are drifting away from significant meaning. Money is a meaningful servant, but it is a poor master. When it's a master in our lives, remember Jesus said you can't serve two masters. You can't serve God and mammon. And when he says mammon, that means money, but it means a little bit deeper than that. It's kind of like the spirit behind money, or what I'll call an idolatry. Idolatry is when you're seeking something that only God can provide for you, and you're seeking it from something else. Sometimes people will seek money for a sense of identity, a sense of success, a sense of importance, a sense of protection. Those things are actually things that God gives us. Those can be helpful. Money can be helpful in those things, but God's the one who provides that. So again, money it can be a problem as a master. It will lead you astray. As a servant, awesome. So money can measure the exchange of value. And by that I mean you may buy a car, in that car, any car you buy, yeah, it's an expensive thing, right? You're looking saying, is that thing worth this investment? That's how money works out. Money can measure the exchange of value. When you're working, you're getting paid a certain amount. For your workplace, they're saying the work that you're doing is worth this amount. When you sell something, same thing. You're saying, I have this to sell. If you know, as a coach, part of what it is, I will build you in particular ways, and you have to determine whether or not that value, multiplication, alignment, clarity, whether it is worth that investment that's involved. Money can measure the exchange of value, but it cannot measure the value of your life. That part you have to sort out. And when you sort that out ahead of time, that purpose out of that alignment, now your resources are coming into focus. Let me start to land the application plane. If you're a note taker, you could come, or if you're not, you could come back to this if you want to. These questions will be really valuable for you. So first, we're going to talk about the meaning and alignment piece. And I would encourage you on a cursory level, you can rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 for any one of these questions, but you could also take more time and really elaborate with them in more of an essay version. So meaning and alignment. Am I clear about who I am on a 1 to 10? On a more essay version, you'd be able to express who you are, express your sense of identity. Again, those are things that I help people to do when I'm in my coaching program or whatever. Do I know what matters in this season? How do you even determine what matters in this season? Do you have a way of reflecting to determine what is most valuable to you in this season? That's alignment. These are root questions. From my lens, this is the most important stuff of your life. That's why I give myself to coaching these things. This getting clear will clarify the next decades of your life. Money will not by itself. Does my current life reflect my deepest values? That's going to be a question. It's either truth encounters within yourself. You can, again, give yourself a 1 to 10 on any of those. Let me go into another area. So that was the alignment piece. Let me go into one of energy. What gives me life? So this isn't a 1 to 10. This is more about you determining what kinds of activities, what kinds of pursuits, what kinds of relationships give me life, and what repeatedly drains me. Those two questions, really valuable. You know the answers to them, but until you write them down and get clear about them, you will tend to just do what you're doing. And you may have friends that are too draining. You may have activities that are too draining, and you recognize you are just, and you could even be doing it in the name of the Lord, serving, serving, serving in ways that actually drain you. They're not filling you. What fills you and what drains you? I'm not saying you can't do what drains you. You need to be aware of it. Am I renewing my energy or am I only consuming it? We don't often think that we consume our own energy, but we do when we're using it. And that's important. That's the part that's your quality of life kind of thing. Let me go into the time questions. Does my calendar reflect what matters? Again, I use Google Calendar and I have a few different colors. I do one for what I do for business. I do one for what I do for family or relationship or me. And then I do one that's more for community or beyond. So I use mainly those three colors and I can tell even just looking at those. Some people are really into it, they do more. For me, I can do that and see, is there balance? Does it reflect it? Now, those are just the colors. When I look at my activities, is it expressing my values? Am I investing time or am I merely reacting? Meaning I'm reacting to the desires and the needs and the requests of others, or am I investing my time intentionally? Do I have enough margin or do I need to be refueling more than I am? That's going to be significant for you. Let's move to the last category, and that has to do with money. Is money serving my values or is it determining my values? That's a hard one, isn't it? Because sometimes we could say, like, I got to provide for my family. I got to be able to pay the bills. So our need for money is now determining. We could say, I have a value to live rightly in my, but what we want to do is establish our values, and now we're going to work in ways that fit that. That's the goal. Am I creating um, kind of recognizable value with my money for others? whether that's giving to them, whether that is spending time with them, maybe taking them to a meal, or even my finances to time, energy, and money. But in right now, I'm talking about money. Am I using my money in a way that actually provides value for others? You might not think about that a lot, but you can because your resources, your money, that's what it's for. That's what our lives are for, to be invested in a way that benefits others, that is joyful service to God and fills us with a sense of like, this is what I'm made for. And money is a powerful expression of that. Lastly, am I using money to provide, grow, give, and multiply impact? That's might be a new thought, might be something that you've thought about, but let me encourage you. You might say, like, I would if I had a lot of money, I would do those things. No, you have right now what God has for you right now, and you get to manage that. So Jesus makes it really clear. When we're faithful with what we have, I was challenged this week with the idea when we say, I don't have enough, or if I had more, I would. That's not how the kingdom works. The way the kingdom is, here's what I have. How can I be faithful with what I have right now? And when we do that, our lives start to increase. That's just the way it is. Let's imagine that you're working your job and you're doing your job well. You're not just saying, I'll do my job well if I had more responsibility, but right now I'm going to kind of just like phone it in. No, if you do your job well now, then when the review comes, you will be given more responsibility and more income. That's just a picture of how all of life works. If you do well with the money that you have right now, God will provide, right? He's the one who provides the ability for you to create wealth. So when you do well with a little, He gives you more opportunities to do more. That's how the kingdom works. So the question is, are you using your money in a way that it multiplies and impacts? Or are you just looking at money as a way to get things done for you right now? I want to open the heavens for your mind in thinking about that. So instead of beginning with, how can I make more money? I want you to instead begin with, who has God created me to be? What am I called to contribute financially, time wise, energy wise? What deserves my best energy? Where should I be investing my time? How much money support can I multiply and put to work for other people or even to multiply for my own benefit? So when we start with meaning, when you build from alignment, management, stewardship of your energy, when you invest your time, then you will have opportunity to allow money to become meaningful as a resource for you. This is not a quick fix. This is not just a budgetary thing. If you pull this all together in the next week, no, this is a reframing of your mind, developing your priorities. And as you're moving into that life, it changes. You will be transformed. I'm speaking about transformation of how you think, feel, invest your life, and the impact that you will have that will affect your workplace. It'll affect your family. It'll affect your impact throughout the world. So let me ask you in last leg, do you feel like your life is in the right kind of order? Are you clear about those kinds of things of identity and the things that I've highlighted so far? Or have you allowed money or busyness or pressure or other people's demands to wear you out? That's the trial of our day. We're being worn out by the demands of others, and we're being worn out by the temptation to just squander our time. And so those two things are affecting our psyche, our psychological stability, our wholeness. And so I want to draw you back to that place of clarity, not draw you back as even as if you've ever been there. What I'm suggesting is a deeper, stronger, more stable way of seeing life and building your life for greater impact. And so that's exactly why, actually, you may be familiar that I have started an Align Your Life 5-day challenge. And so I've compiled all that I do in my coaching program into a 5-day, 1 hour a day program at lunchtime that everything that I've talked about uh, I'm going to actually give you ways to build that into your life, into your design, into your placement, into your purpose, into your healthy rhythms, and a plan to move forward. So if you're interested in that, which I think it could be pretty powerful for you. If you're interested in that, go to alignyourlifechallenge.com. I actually have one in a week from when I'm doing this recording. It's just in, 9 days away. So alignyourlifechallenge.com. It'll be from 12 to 1, Monday through Friday. And check it out by going to that thing. There'll be a little bit more information there. That's what I'm about in my life. And what we're about is not just about removing pressure in your life. That's not the problem. It's not just about getting more money. No, the goal is for you to remove confusion and to come into a place of alignment. When you become clear about who you are and what you want to be doing and where you're going, then things start to come together. Your life becomes aimed so that you can move ahead. If now is a good time for you to give yourself to a week of 5 hours, there's a little bit of assignments. I mean, this is a coaching experience. It's not just teaching. I'm not about on Hear You Heal kind of teaching, but what I'm about is coaching you, helping you learn how to do it. That's what we do in the Align Your Life Challenge.com. So check that out if you're interested. Don't build your life around what you can earn. Instead, build your life about what you can become. What you can become will determine what you earn. What you earn may rob who you could become. Let's move towards who you can become. Have a great day. I look forward to talking to you again.